We are on the record in case number 2025-00395, application of Myso Llc for certificate of construction for a 200 megawatt merchant solar electric generating facility in Graves County, Kentucky. My name is Angie Hatton. I'm chair of the Kentucky Public Service Commission. Joining me this morning are Commissioners Barry Mayfield, Commissioner Andrew Wood, Commissioner Mary Pat Regan could not join us today, and Siting Board Member Jansen Hammock. And then joining us online is Deputy Secretary of Energy and Environment Cabinet, Tony Hatton. Can you hear us okay, Mr. Hatton?
Through loud and clear.
Okay. And then we also have two local ad hoc members that I have been looking for this morning to see if they have logged in, and I don't see them yet, but hopefully they will join us soon. They are Judge Jesse Perry and Tony Smith. They're not present in the courtroom, are they? Okay. All right, I'll ask everybody at this time to please set their cell phones to silent or turn them off. And let's have entry of appearance of counsel.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Greg Dutton with Frost Round Todd on behalf of the applicant. I have with me today my colleagues Pierce Stevenson as well as Catherine Ecker.
Morning, thank you. And would you tell us your witnesses, please?
Yes, Chair. We have Jackie Kitchen, Bob Roy, Ryan Turner, Matthew Batdorf, Fletcher Mangum, and Rich Kirkland.
In that order?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, and for staff?
Nicole Carr.
Good morning. And Ms. Carr, I've been told that public notice has been given and filed in the record.
Yes, that's correct.
Any outstanding motions?
We had one motion for confidential treatment and then a motion for deviation.
Okay.
I believe that's accurate. Yes,
And
thank you.
We'll deal with those in final order. Any other motions at this time?
No, ma'am.
Is there anyone here who came today for the purpose of giving public comment? All right. So before you come up, I'll give just some basic information here. Anyone who's listening online today, you may still enter public comments. You can write us at Public Service Commission, 211 Sauer Boulevard, Frankfort, Kentucky, 40601, or you could always send an emailed written comment at psc.comment@ky.gov. Let's see, and those instructions are posted on our website and have been for at least the last 24 hours. And sir, if you want to just come forward to this microphone here, we'll have 7 minutes for you to comment. I probably don't have to speak to that if you're the only one here today, but that's a general guideline to usually just allow people opportunity to make sure everybody gets to speak. But I'll set the timer. Give me 1 second. And then tell us your full name and address, and you can begin.
My name is Michael George, Louisville, Kentucky, 40205. I was in here not too long ago to speak, give a public comment, and I'm back again. And that's part of the reason why I'm here. When I was reviewing the application for the Crab Run Solar Project, I noticed something. The property impact report included references to Graves County and a couple of sections about battery storage. I figured the battery storage section in that report was a mistake, so I looked for the property impact report in other applications that included Graves County and a battery storage system, but I couldn't find it. After specifically pulling the application from this docket, I realized why. It was omitted from this impact report. Crab Run has no BESS system, yet the Kirkland report has a full BESS section. a table of contents entry, market data for battery storage facilities, paired sales for best proximity, and a formal conclusion. This project has a best in the plans, yet the Kirkland report contains none of that. No section, no data, no comparables, no paired sales, one sentence with no supporting data. Harvey Economics reviewed this proceeding and acknowledged the best in 3 separate footnotes, noting missing acoustic data and that the decommissioning estimate excludes it. Harvey was aware of it, yet Harvey did not flag its complete absence from the property value analysis. And similarly, in the Crab Run report, there was no analysis that it was incorrectly there. Kirkland appraisers is the appraiser of record in both proceedings. The Crab Run hearing was 6 weeks ago. These errors are sitting in the public record. In that time between that hearing and this one, neither applicant has filed a correction. This is not rigorous property impact analysis. It's reckless copy and paste applied to what is, for most families, their most valuable asset. One of the negative results in Kirkland's Kentucky sale resale data has a calculation error. The Mount Olive Creek sale occurred in December 2022, a Q4 date. Kirkland uses the Q3 house price index value. The correct quarter changes the result from a -5% to a -6.4% outside of the special own stated plus or minus 5% threshold. That same error also appears in the Crab Run filing and has not been corrected in either proceeding. The matched pairs analysis come entirely from a 2.7 megawatt project, 74 times smaller than this one today. Meanwhile, the most comprehensive study ever conducted on this question, 8.8 million transactions, 3,699 large-scale solar sites, was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences last June, 11 months before Harvey's review of this particular impact report, and it's not included. The finding, an average loss of 4.8% within 3 miles, reaching 7 to 8% within a half a mile. Conservative counties' average loss is 5.4%. Graves County voted 74% Republican in 2016. On a $200,000 home, that's over $10,000 in lost value. The study finds the largest losses closest to the facility. According to the applicant's own filings, 15 homes in this project are within 500 feet of a solar panel, well inside that impact band. Those are the homes that this impact report says are unaffected. The board should require a dedicated battery storage system property value analysis and defer setback deviation until that analysis, best acoustic data, and a complete decommissioning cost estimate are on the record. The board should require an independent audit of the Kirkland methodology. Offsets are applied and not defined. And the Virginia Tech study should be used and should be given some weight in these deliberations. This is a real university-studied, peer-reviewed, scientific journal published data. Thank you for your time.
And if you would like to file that in the record, if you haven't already, you can give it your written comments to staff or email it to us later. I'd encourage you to. Thank you. Is anybody else here for the purpose of giving public comment? All right, thank you, Mr. George.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to presentation of evidence, and you can call your first witness.
Yes, thank you. First, I just want to say welcome to new Commissioner Mayfield, as well as new Commissioner and Deputy Secretary Hatton. I've seen them both in other contexts, so happy to see you both here. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your service. First, we will call Jackie Kitchen.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn?
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. Counsel, you may ask.
Morning, Ms. Kitchen.
Morning.
So who do you work for,
Bright Night Power.
and what do you do there?
I'm the Senior Director of Development.
And were you involved with the preparation of application materials for this matter?
Yes, I was.
And what was your role in preparing those materials?
I oversaw the preparation of the application itself and supporting materials with our technical team.
Chairwoman, may I approach? She's got the binders between she and me, so I can't actually, I just move these out of the way.
You may approach.
Okay. There we go. Is there anything in the record at this time that you'd like to update, modify, clarify?
No, there is not.
With that, I'll turn to the witness.
Okay. Steph.
Good morning, Mrs. Kitchen. If I ask you any questions and you're unable to answer those questions and there's a better witness, just please let me know.
Okay.
When this application was initially submitted, a site plan was submitted with the application. Has there been any updates or changes to that site plan?
No, there have not.
Moving forward, what potential changes or updates to that site plan could there possibly be?
As we advance through our design process, when we bring on an EPC, there may be minor changes to the specific components of the layout. However, there will be no changes to the overall project boundary.
What month and year do you anticipate that construction will begin?
We currently anticipate September of 2027.
How many months will construction take?
It should take 18 to 24 months.
How many months do you anticipate peak construction to last?
Approximately 6 months.
How long is the operational life of this project?
40 years.
The total project acreage is listed as 2,051 acres. Is that still accurate?
It is.
What is the total fence acreage for the project?
It's 1,342 acres within the fence line.
Could you explain to the siting board whether an MV collection system is going to be above ground or below ground?
It will be below ground.
What type of panels are going to be used for this project?
We haven't selected a manufacturer for the panels at this time.
Are tracking rays going to be used, are they fixed rays?
We anticipate tracking.
Some of the comments that the siting board received from different residents is regarding the panels and the potential leaching. Are you the best witness for that question?
I am,
Okay.
yes.
Could you explain to the siting board and other residents why or why not leaching is a concern for these solar panels?
Yeah, so the solar panels are made of simple materials, including glass, aluminum metal, and silicone wafers, and those are encased. The panel is fully encased, and we use Tier 1 rated panels which pass the EPA's toxicity test to ensure that they are not toxic.
In response to staff's second request, item 2, Myso talks a little bit about the tiered outreach program that was utilized for this project. Can you explain the outreach program, this tiered outreach program to the siting board?
Yeah, certainly. So we had our public information meeting last summer, and we had about 19 members of the public appear at that meeting. And so we were able to make relationships with those that were closest to the project site, and we continued discussions with those neighbors. And over time, we continued to engage with them, meet them in their homes, answer any questions that they had, and we actually implemented a Good Neighbor Agreement program for this project, where we offered good neighbor agreements to all residents who were immediately adjacent to our project infrastructure.
And so those 19 adjacent landowners, how many of those landowners actually signed a good neighbor agreement with Mayfield Solar or Myso?
9 of them have signed.
Referring to the consultant's report, Harvey Economics, on page 5, section 5, page 30, he stated that receptor 56, receptor 63, and 86 did not sign a good neighbor agreement. Is that accurate?
Can you remind me of the page number, please?
Section 5, on the bottom says 5-30. And it's the second.
I'm sorry, you said page 5-30?
30, and under conclusion and recommendation, there's one dot, and then under the second dot, it states R56 and receptor 56, receptor 63, and receptor 86 did not sign good neighbor agreements.
Yes.
Okay.
And can you repeat your question regarding those?
I just wanted to confirm that that was accurate.
That appears to be accurate, yes.
Looking at staff requests, MISO's response to staff request, item 11, could you please explain to the citing board the statement that the project has been located on land intended for industrial uses?
Yes, certainly. So the land where a majority of the project site is located is owned by the Purchase Area Regional Industrial Authority, which is the land holding company for PAD, which is the Purchase Area Development District. This is a public authority that's charged with working with county officials to provide social services, and the land was leased from that entity. It had initially been set aside for some type of industrial development several years ago. Unfortunately, those types of industrial developments have not occurred, and when the solar project became an opportunity, the Purchase Area Redevelopment District elected to lease it for solar development.
And so how many participating landowners does this project have?
There are two.
Are there going to be any structures that have to be demolished during the construction of this project?
No, there will not.
In general, can you describe to the citing board how storm water runoff will be prevented?
Yes, the project would implement a stormwater pollution prevention plan in consultation with our EPC.
There's no, in Graves County, there are no local ordinance that prohibits solar facilities. Could you describe some of the outreach that was conducted by MISO as far as local officials, and what type of contact you've had there with the local county officials?
Certainly. We've met with Graves County Fiscal Court and the county commissioners several times over the last 2 years to provide them information about the project and answer any questions they have, and are committed to continuing to provide periodic updates to the county.
Could you describe to the citing board any additional outreach to the local community besides the local information that MISO has conducted?
I think I've covered it with the public information meeting and subsequent discussions we've had with adjacent neighbors.
When is the determination going to be made whether a battery storage energy system is going to be utilized for this project?
Yeah, so at this point, we are planning to incorporate a battery energy storage system.
Do you know how many units will actually be used or built?
We haven't selected the manufacturer or the type yet, so we don't know the unit count at this time.
When do you think that decision will be made?
We anticipate making that prior to commencing construction.
And so could you explain how the battery energy storage system will actually be monitored for this project?
Sure. So again, we haven't selected the specific unit yet, but the standard protocol is for us to have a 24-hour monitoring system, which would monitor the site remotely and send information to our reporting teams.
And so the system that's monitoring it remotely, and I know you haven't picked out the system yet, but typically where will that monitoring occur?
So the monitoring equipment is inside the facility itself, and the information is sent to our remote team. We haven't contracted that team yet, so we don't know where their location will be at this time.
Will there be ongoing training for local fire officials there to help ensure that they are educated on how to, if there was a fire at the solar facility, how will they be educated on how to prevent that or how to stop it?
Yes, there will be ongoing training, and that training typically consists of a site visit to the site prior to energization with local emergency responders so they can see the site, review the location, the setup, the layout, the location of the Knox box, which is a key to ensure that fire officials will always have access to the site, and then provide other overviews of the manufacturer's specified training.
Has a purchase power agreement been signed for this project?
No, it has not.
When do you anticipate that that will occur?
We anticipate completing that by the end of this year.
Have there been any complaints or concerns by non-participating landowners?
No, there have not.
Have there been any requests to add vegetative screening from non-participating landowners?
So during our discussions leading up to the Good Neighbor agreements, we reviewed the location of potential vegetative screening with each of those landowners and included it into the plan that we've submitted to the siting board.
Has there been any requests from anyone in the community or officials to change the project layout?
No, there has not.
In the application in the environmental violation record section, it states that no entity that has ownership interest has violated any federal or state environmental regulations. Was Bright Night LLC included in that statement?
Yes, it was.
Does Mayfield Solar LLC have any employees?
No, it does not.
Is Mayfield Solar a subsidiary of Bright Night?
Yes, it is.
Is Bright Night a subsidiary of another company?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Does Bright Night have employees?
Yes, it does.
Who will hire the employees for construction? Will it be a contractor or will it be Bright Night?
Bright Night Management will hire the employees through our EPC.
Who will the EPC be employed by?
Bright Night Management, LLC.
At what point in the construction process will the EPC be hired?
Prior to construction,
And when you say prior to construction, is that 30 days out before the commencement of construction or 6 months?
it's typically about 6 months, but it can vary based on contracting discussions.
Who will hire the employees for construction?
The EPC.
How will Myso or Mayfield Solar ensure that local contractors or construction workers could be employed by this project?
So during our RFP process, where we're looking to hire an EPC, we will make it clear that local hiring is a preference and should be prioritized. We'll also encourage our EPC to hold a local job fair in Graves County.
Is there any language in the EPC contract that ensures local workers will be hired?
The contract has not been drafted yet, so I cannot say at this time.
Have you used any language in EPCs that would encourage that in prior solar facilities proposed?
I'm not aware. I would have to review our past EPC contracts to confirm that.
What company will employ the individuals that will be responsible for ensuring compliance to the mitigation measures during construction?
Our EPC would oversee compliance with mitigation during construction, and that EPC, again, would be hired by Bright Night Management.
What company will employ the individuals that will be responsible for ensuring compliance during operations?
Bright Night Management.
Are there any plans to enter into our IRB or pilot program in Graves County?
We haven't made that determination at this time.
How many full-time positions are going to be in Graves, actually located in Graves County? after the project becomes operational?
So the project will have between 1 and 3 full-time staff. Our preference would be that they be located in Graves County simply because they can respond more quickly and it would be more convenient. But it's difficult to say at this time if they would physically live in Graves County.
1 to 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you the best witness for decommissioning?
Yes.
Is the decommissioning plan that was submitted to the siting board the final decommissioning plan?
It will be updated after the completion of construction to reflect the materials used.
And I think you heard the resident here, Mr. Jordan, give a public comment a little bit about the decommissioning and the lack of the decommissioning plan, including the battery energy storage system. What would Myso or Mayfield Solar's response be to his concerns?
So we do intend to decommission the battery along with the PV at the end of the project life, and it wasn't included in the decommissioning plan again because we haven't selected the unit yet, so we don't have the appropriate data to complete the decommissioning plan.
And so prior to commencement, when the decommissioning plan has to be filed with the EEC, would that updated decommissioning plan include the battery energy storage system?
I'm just going to object to the extent that the witness can't answer. I'm not sure that she can answer without conferring with a number of other people and probably also legal counsel.
So what was the objection? Just,
Yeah, I think that the information that you're seeking, she's probably going to have to confer with legal counsel before she can answer. So I would say go ahead and answer to the extent that you can, but I'm just putting it on the record that
does it call for a legal conclusion? Is that what you?
yes, I think partially the question is leading towards asking for a legal conclusion, and it's also, I think, probably a little bit outside of the scope of the issues that we're here to talk about, as well as that Jackie is prepared to talk about. Excuse me, Ms. Kitchen is prepared to talk about. So I'm just cautioning her that, as well as the board, that whatever the answer is comes with a caveat, and she's not committing to anything, because I don't think she's able to do that today.
Well, we can ask that in the post-hearing data request, but I think it's relevant
Yeah.
whether the battery energy storage system, the decommissioning, is included in the decommissioning plan.
Yeah, I'm going to allow that question, and she can answer if she knows.
So if legally required under Kentucky statute, then it would be included, yes. And again, we do have every intention of including that and would have that calculation prepared in our internal records.
Could you please describe to the siting board about the complaint resolution program that would be proposed for this project?
Certainly. So we would implement a full complaint resolution program, which would provide notification to adjacent landowners prior to the construction, line out the general schedule so they can understand what to expect, and provide information on who to contact if they have additional questions or if there are any issues during construction, so that we can reach out to them and work to resolve those.
How are residents going to be informed of the complaint resolution program?
Through a mailing to adjacent landowners.
Is the complaint resolution program going to be on the project's website?
Yes, it will.
And who will be, if the resident goes onto the website, who is the contact person that will be answering those emails?
So we have a system internally where those emails are distributed to the project team, our community outreach team, and others. There's multiple points of contact that would receive that email so we can ensure that it's responded to promptly.
Is there a time frame that Mayfield Solar would like to be able to respond to those residents' complaints?
So we generally strive to respond, to at least provide an initial acknowledgement of the email within 24 hours.
I think that's all the questions I have for this witness at this time.
Okay. Let's go online first. Mr. Hatton, do you have questions?
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on a couple of things. Is there any idea of what battery type that Bright Knot is expecting to use on this project?
Yes, so we anticipate using a lithium-ion battery like most utility projects are using at this time.
Okay. I think I heard earlier that the battery array will be subsurface,
Can you clarify what you mean by subsurface?
but buried below the ground surface.
No, the battery itself will be above ground.
Okay, I must have misheard that. My apologies.
No worries.
The only concern I had is that there was subsurface storage, that the water table's fairly shallow in some areas of the site, so I was just wanting to follow up on that. It's a 40-year planned project, and I know you had mentioned Tier 1 panels, which from what I've heard have a 20 to 25-year potential lifespan. And batteries obviously may have a lifespan that doesn't exceed the 40 years. Is there like a replacement plan pre-decommissioning that you all would expect you would have to implement?
So typically, we do expect the panels that we're using to last for the full duration of 40 years. The newer technology and newer manufacturer specifications do indicate that we can expect a 40-year lifespan. However, if some of those panels degrade over time, we might replace them as needed to ensure efficiency.
This is not so much a question as just a comment. Hopefully it's reasonable. Are those companies that are interested in developing solar panels and solar farms actively involved in what hopefully will become an increase in potential recycling opportunities over the next few years?
Yes, so the solar industry through SIA, which is our industry group, is actively pursuing ongoing relationships and opportunities with recyclers to ensure that the panels can be recycled at the end of their useful life.
That's all the questions that I have. Thank you, Ms. Kitchen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. Next, Commissioner Wood.
Thank you, Chair Hatton. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about ask questions about the battery decision and when a developer decides to install the battery storage and when they don't. Could you tell me a little bit about that and your decision-making process?
Yes, so the battery is an important part of the project because we've heard from local utilities and potential off-takers that it will help provide reliability for the grid overall. And as you probably are aware, the battery allows for us to charge during the day and then deploy that energy in the evenings when the sun doesn't shine. So generally, the feedback we've received is that a battery would be preferable to optimize the system.
Overall, has the decision to deploy battery storage gotten easier over the years, or is it getting more difficult, or is it becoming more common or less common? How would you describe the incidence of battery storage in solar projects now?
I would say that it's becoming more common with these types of projects to have a paired battery, as it does provide additional reliability capacity for the grid. And so, again, having a battery that can quickly discharge energy to the grid at any time is becoming more and more desirable and requested by utilities.
Has the price of battery storage gone up or come down or stayed about the same?
I can't speak to that specifically, but generally, if it's anything like solar panels, the price continues to come down as the equipment becomes more efficient.
Has the company applied for interconnection with this be in the Myso area?
Yes.
And has the company applied for interconnection with Myso yet, or?
Yes, we have. So we applied in 2020 as part of the 2022 Q cycle, and we're currently in stage 2 of the Myso Q cycle, which is a pretty advanced stage.
Is that you said that's the end stage?
It's an advanced stage. We have a couple of more phases to go through.
That's a pretty long development
It is.
timeline, isn't it?
Yes.
Is Myso experiencing the same sort of delays that PJM was, or how do you all feel about what's going on with Myso right now?
We feel good about Myso. There are delays, as there are with many of the RTOs around the country. But overall, we are on schedule to move through our queue process within a timely manner that should align with our construction timelines.
And how do you feel about off-takers these days? Is solar still popular, or is there still a line to take the electrons, or has the market cooled towards solar energy, or how do you find the demand for your power?
Yeah, it's a great question. Power is, as you know, needed more and more every single day. And the general feedback we're getting from off-takers is that any form, they'll take it. And solar is particularly attractive because it is one of the lower-cost forms of energy generation.
Yeah, there's a lot of demand, but there's a lot of demand for 95%, reliable energy too. And I know that solar isn't, just by its nature, it isn't up to those, I hate to say it's not reliable, but it's very reliable for 4 hours a day, And I just didn't know whether whether off-takers had changed their requirements or whether solar was still in demand. But you say it's still in demand.
It is.
All right, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, and we have been joined by another siting board member. Would you please identify yourself?
Yeah, this is Judge Executive Jack Whitfield in Hopkins County.
Okay. Welcome. We are in our first witness, and you'll certainly get the opportunity to review the video later if you'd like for the little bit that you've missed. Sorry if you had any trouble logging on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mayfield?
No questions at this time.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
And Jansen, Mr. Hammond?
I have a few questions. First, I want to start with just something I like to get on the record for people who aren't aware of it. So we have 9 people that have signed the Good Neighbor Agreement. The question I have for you is can you explain, 200-foot view, what a Good Neighbor Agreement is?
Certainly. So a Good Neighbor Agreement is something that Bright Night implements. It's a voluntary program on a case-by-case basis, and it essentially provides assurance to our adjacent residents that we will implement setbacks as specified, vegetative screening as specified, provides them contact information throughout the life of the project, and provides financial compensation for the inconvenience of construction and change in view shed.
Thank you. I also want to clarify this as well. I think it was in a data request response, but I want to make sure. Signing that Good Neighbor Agreement doesn't preclude or prevent residents from participating in the complaint resolution program, right?
No, it does not.
Okay. The only other question I have for you is regarding these operations positions, that 1 to 3 individuals. Would there be training for those individuals if they were hired locally?
Yes, there would.
Okay, great. All right. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Were you able to hear the public comment that was made earlier?
Yes, I was.
Can you address the missing portions or misapplied portions of, in particular, the battery storage impact on property valuation? Do you know anything about
I would defer
that?
that to Mr. Kirkland, who's here to speak to that report.
Okay. Did you have anything further to address his concerns?
Not at this time.
Okay. We'll ask Mr. Kirkland when he comes up. So, good neighbor agreements, this is my first instance of having good neighbor agreements in a siting board case, to my recollection. They were offered to all of the adjoining landowners, but not all of them accepted?
Correct. They were offered to the adjacent landowners with a residence touching one of our parcels. So there were 19 of those in total. 10 of them responded to us, and 9 of them ended up signing, and the 10th that didn't, we talked to him extensively. He understood the project, said he had no opposition, but did not need an agreement.
Okay. Just declined financial compensation for interruption of view shed, and, okay.
That is correct.
But the rest of them did definitely get notice and opportunity to do
They
that?
did, multiple times.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I have. Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
All right. In that case, is there any reason this witness can't be excused?
I'd like to hold her so that we can recall later, but she can certainly be excused for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excused. Oh, I'm so sorry. Judge Whitfield, did you have questions for this witness?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Forgive me for that. I apologize. All right, I'm gonna call your next witness.
Commissioner, can we take a 5-minute break for this witness?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, 5-minute break.
Okay.
We'll be adjourned, or, sorry, we'll be in recess. the record in case number 2025-00395. And council, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next witness is Bob Roy.
Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thanks. Please be seated. Tell us your full name and business address, if you will.
Robert Roy, 515 North Flagler Avenue, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Council.
Mr. Roy, where do you work?
Bright Night Power,
And what is your position there?
Director of Permitting.
And were you involved with the preparation of application and additional materials for this case?
I was.
And what was your role with that?
I coordinated many of the resource surveys that were performed to support the application, and then assisted with pulling the application together.
Is there anything in the materials that you would like to update, edit, or clarify at this time?
Update, yes. We have received recently 3 additional reports. They're focused on the 4 parcels from the second participating landowner. That came in late in our application development process. So we had wetland delineations, a cultural resource assessment, and protected species assessment completed on those. We just recently received those reports, so we can add those in.
And were there any significant changes in those reports to what's already in the record for this case, or any sort of significant updates?
For both the protected species report and the cultural resource report, anything that was documented in those 2 reports were already accounted for in our other protected species and cultural resource reports for the larger project. The wetland delineation report was a new area, so some new resources were found.
Okay. And just a note for the board, we plan to file those as supplemental discovery responses, but we just received them like in the last day or so. So we were preparing for this hearing. So we'll get those updated and filed in the record here in the next couple of days.
And the reason was that an additional participating landowner was added later?
Mr. Roy, you want to respond to that?
Yes, later in the process. So.
Has the siting board been provided a map or other identification for that additional landowner?
Yes, the application materials includes
Just
that.
not these 3
Just those
studies?
resource surveys, right? Sorry for interrupting.
Council.
That's all the questions I have.
And going back, you said there was a cultural report that was done. What else? A wetland delineations, and what other report?
Protected species habitat
Protected
assessment.
species. And so, as far as what cultural resources were found
In the new report?
in the new report?
There were 3, I would have to turn to the report to
Okay.
describe exactly what they were.
Okay,
But they had already been accounted for in one of our other cultural
okay.
reports that we'd submitted.
Could you describe to the siting board the type of vegetative screening that is proposed by Mayfield Solar for this case?
Yes, we've proposed 2 types of screening, the dense screening and low-density screening. The dense screening is basically 2 lines of more densely packed plantings, including up to 4 species. And then the low density is a sort of a sawtooth-shaped planting of two species.
And so what areas will the low-density vegetative buffer or screening be? What particular areas around the perimeter of the facility?
That was designed as an application where there's already some existing screening from natural vegetation, but we felt it needed to be augmented by adding at least a few more plantings along those existing areas.
And so the high-density areas, what areas are those, that type of vegetative screening going to be utilized for?
Those are areas where there isn't any existing vegetation to provide screening, and there's direct views, by receptors.
As far as the type of vegetation that's going to be used for the low-density areas, what type of species are going to be used or planted there?
I believe that's eastern red cedar, and then there's a hybrid species called the green giant. It's a type of cedar as well.
What height, how long will it take for those to reach maturity as far as the low-density areas?
It's going to depend on the site conditions and climate over the first few years and, weather, but it'll be at the same rate as the dense areas.
And so how long will it take to get to maturity? I know it depends on some factors, but on average, how many years will it take to reach maturity?
Probably 10-ish years.
Is that the same amount of time for the high-density areas to reach maturity also?
Yes.
Would Mayfield Solar be committed if non-participating landowners requested additional vegetative screening at a later time?
Yes, I believe it would be considered. Certainly if anything came in through the complaint resolution process, then it would be addressed.
Are all the plant species going to be native to Kentucky?
3 of the 4 are. The hybrid that I mentioned, it is native to the western U.S., the Northwest. But like I said, it's a hybrid, but it's used very commonly here in Kentucky. It's recommended because it grows very fast, very full. It has really good survival rates, and it's a non-invasive species. It doesn't self-seed or things like that, so it's not going to spread and take over with new plants, offspring of the plants that we plant.
And what's the name of that hybrid?
It's Thuja plicata, which is western red cedar, and it's hybridized with another species of red cedar.
Will there be 2 acres of native pollinators?
Yes.
At what height are the trees and shrubs going to be planted at?
It will be dependent on the stock that's available at the time, but likely in the 4 to 6 foot range.
How far in advance do you begin to work with local nurseries in order to start letting them know the need of the project as far as different types of trees and shrubs that are going to be necessary?
I'm not certain. That will be a task that the EPC completes.
When is the landscaping proposed to be done? During construction, at the end, at the last stage, or in conjunction with the rest of the site development?
It would probably be near the end of the construction process, maybe the last third.
What will be the spacing between the rows of panels?
Of panels.
Yes, what will be the spacing between the rows of panels?
That I'm not the person to answer that. Perhaps Mr. Turner.
Do you know what the ground cover of underneath the solar panels will be? Will it be gravel or grass?
Oh no, it'll be grass. It'll be stabilized with grass seeds.
Are the access roads expected to be gravel?
To my understanding, yes.
How many acres are going to be cleared for this project?
Cleared of trees and woody vegetation.
Yes.
Right now, we believe it's approximately 81.
Are those mature trees and shrubs?
I would say yes in most cases.
Looking at the consultant's report, Harvey Economics, who was hired to be the consultant for this case, and I'm looking at page 5-9. It states that there are multiple homes that are located along Kentucky Route 1241 on the east side and on the west side that would benefit from additional vegetation. Could you explain to the siting board why or why not it would be beneficial to add additional vegetation to those areas?
I think that might be Best deferred.
Okay,
I know that it was a sort of a joint discussion on where
okay.
the screening went.
Who would be the best witness, do you know?
Jackie?
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, so then we'll go to our participants online. First to Deputy Secretary Hatton.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just a couple of questions. I haven't really had an opportunity to look at the wetland delineation report. I mean, I've seen it, and I realized, yeah, as I understood, you're going to officially submit it. Is there going to be a necessity to get a jurisdictional determination from the Corps of Engineers for the construction of this project?
If we find we can't avoid all waters of the U.S., then yes.
Do you think that's going to be an issue in the end, or do you think you can construct what you desire to do so while avoiding those areas?
We know that we've already avoided a lot. There are a couple of areas that we're focusing on to determine if we can come up with any engineering designs to avoid further.
So you're going to do the best you can to avoid the necessity of getting a permit from the Corps of Engineers. In the event that you need to, I'm sure you are aware you also need a 401 water quality certification from the Commonwealth.
Yes, we understand.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask this or not, but I did notice that you all had done a seismic evaluation, a probabilistic seismic evaluation of this area. And I read the report, and it seems pretty consistent with what would typically occur in an area using probabilistic. I do know from some of my experience working with a facility over to the west of this that sometimes the deterministic model, and I'm not suggesting you do one or that you have to do one or you're required to do one, but just the same, it may be something you want to consider moving forward, which probably will give you a little bit better idea of the potential, because I know you did study on liquefaction, but ground motion is also a pretty significant issue to be considered. And obviously there's a lot of attenuation between here and the New Madrid, but you got the Wabash Valley just north of you. So might be something that you all want to sort of take a look at, what a deterministic might look like if you set off with maximum credible earthquake a lot closer to the site, just for your own investment purposes and safety factors or whatever it is you may consider to make sure your asset is well protected and continuity of service and all those things. That's all the questions I've got. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. And so our other online ad hoc members of the siting board now can have an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have of this witness. And you can go in whichever order you'd like, but identify yourself first. Judge Perry?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. And Mr. Smith?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Wood?
Yes, Mr. Roy, it says here that you'd be addressing the topics of project permitting, vegetative screening and management, stormwater drainage and environmental surveys.
Yes.
What sort of environmental surveys or environmental factors go into planning for a project like this?
Well, a series of resource surveys, like, wetlands and streams, waters of the U.S., cultural resources, protected species habitat. Those are the primary three biological ones, biological and cultural ones.
And what was that at the end?
Biological and cultural resource surveys.
And were there any waters of the United States on the grounds of this project? Or?
Yes.
And how do you determine that? And tell me more about what those considerations are and what you think about when you think about waterways.
Well, I won't go into the full explanation of how they're defined. There are certain criteria that need to be met in an area for it to be considered to be a waters of the U.S. So our our resource consultant went out there, did the entire, surveyed the entire parcels, and with that data, we then take a look at what's buildable, what isn't, what to avoid. Our current layout avoids all wetlands that would be considered to be jurisdictional. There are some streams that we worked around to avoid, and like I mentioned earlier, there were just a couple of spots that are pinch points that we're still investigating whether we can find an engineering solution to not even impact those.
Is it true that you can't build, you can't develop on the sites where there's waterways, or you just have to get some sort of credit, or what's the give and take on using those waterways?
Well, you can get permits to perform work in waters of the U.S., but the Corps of Engineers would like to see avoidance, first, and then minimization when you can't avoid.
And then what happens if you do have to build over those streams or waterways? What's the other side of that equation look like? What do you have to do in order to build there?
You engage with the Corps and, present your project, what you suspect the impacts are. You provide, the wetland delineation report, some other additional data, and, they take it over. We believe that if we do trigger an interaction with the Corps, it'll be under the nationwide permit process. And we believe it would go through no problem according to the process they have.
So that adds the environmental process, adds cost and delay to a project, or how do you all view the environmental review process?
Well, it certainly can create a problem if your impacts or your unavoidable impacts are so large that you have to go to like an individual permit with the Corps of Engineers, but we are certain we won't be doing that. So it's a 4 to 6 months process.
Seems like it makes you have to lease more land. It makes for a bigger footprint of the project, doesn't it?
Oh, no, we would not have to lease more land.
You did not have to.
No.
And in terms of project permitting, what permits did you have to work on in order to prepare for this project?
This is the first major permit that we are applying for.
Very well. That's all the questions I have.
Okay. Commissioner Mayfield?
No, Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Hammond?
I have no questions, thank you.
And I don't have questions for this witness either. Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
Any reason?
Let me follow up. Mr. Roy, are you the best witness regarding to karst issues?
No, that would be our civil
Okay.
engineer.
All right, just make sure, no questions.
Thank you all.
You may be excused, sir. And counsel, you may call your next witness.
Our next witness is Ryan Turner.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat and tell us your full name and business address, please.
Ryan Turner, 515 North Flagler Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33401.
Counsel?
Where do you work, Mr. Turner?
Bright Night Power,
And what is your title then?
Director of Project Engineering.
And were you involved with the preparation of application and other materials for this case?
Yes.
And what was your role?
I oversaw the development of the engineering materials for the application.
Is there anything in the record that you would like to update, clarify, or modify at this time?
No.
With that, I will attend to the witness.
Okay. Staff?
Mr. Turner, what will be the spacing between the rows of panels?
10 feet.
Are you the best witness to talk about the karst issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What karst issues have been found in regards to this project?
None so far.
A lot of this project area is located in a floodplain. What infrastructure will be located within the floodplain that exists within the site?
Primarily piles.
Primarily,
The piles are the foundations for the tracker.
will any portion of the battery energy storage system or the substation be located within the floodplain?
Yes.
And so what will be done in order to mitigation measures to avoid that or to help with the location of that facility?
We will focus the placement of the battery units away from the floodplain. If needed, we will elevate the battery units from the floodplain.
Is there any way to avoid the floodplain completely?
No, not at this time.
Have you known of any other projects where the battery energy storage system or the substation is located in the floodplain before?
Yes.
Were there any problems or issues with that location in the floodplain?
No, ma'am.
What best management practices will be utilized when constructing the other panels, the solar panels, besides or the other facility components that are be located in the floodplain?
We will follow the guidance of the SWIP that will be developed under the EPC.
Are you able to talk generally about the specific guidance that could be recommended?
Yes.
Okay, and what would that guidance be?
This SWIP has not been developed yet. Some of those would include retention basins, berms, some straw wattles.
What best management practices will be utilized when groundwater is encountered at depths of the infrastructure is proposed to be placed?
Yeah, the prelim geotech identifies some prelim measures. A few measures would include dewatering or diverting the water away from the area that is where groundwater is present.
Have you seen groundwater, the existence of groundwater being present as a problem in other facilities that were proposed?
No.
Do you see any major issues with the presence of groundwater for this solar facility?
Not at this time.
What other reports or surveys will be done after, if and when they receive approval to help mitigate and to further survey the area in the floodplain?
The EPC will complete a design level geotech, so the final geotech.
Has there been any consultation with FEMA regarding the floodplain that exists on this site?
Can you repeat the question?
Has there been any consultation with FEMA regarding the floodplain that exists on the site?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know if that will take place or if it's required to take place?
I don't know at this time.
We'll request that in a post-hearing data request, just to confirm whether or not FEMA needs to be consulted. I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay. And going online to Deputy Commissioner Hatton?
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. I think I read in a report somewhere there are certain areas, of course, this isn't a coastal plain where you have very shallow water table, that groundwater may be as close to 10 feet from the surface. Do you all expect for your activities in terms of platforming and foundations to extend to that degree below ground surface?
Not at this time.
If any plans to attempt to de-water an area like that will be very difficult to do. So it's just pointing that out. If you find yourself in that position, de-watering the water table aquifer in the Jackson Purchase is not an easy thing to do. Just looking forward, do you think that in terms of development in the floodplain, you'll be looking at a general permit or an individual permit application?
That question is best suited for Bob Roy.
Just a general permit is required if you don't expect to change the base flood elevation, and if you do, and I don't know if that determination's been made or not, but obviously it needs to be made at some point in time to make sure that the proper permits are applied for. And you had mentioned that you had not encountered any issues with karst at this point, and I don't expect that you would, by the way, given where this is actually located. That's all the questions that I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And for Judge Perry or Mr. Smith?
I do not have any.
Any questions, Mr. Smith?
Well,
Okay. Commissioner Wood?
Mr. Turner, welcome to Frankfurt. I wanted to just take a couple of minutes and ask you a couple of questions about your area of testimony. I have here that you're in charge of testimony for geotechnical studies, engineering, design, and cabling, and internal roadways. Is that right?
Yes.
Who's your employer?
Bright Night Power.
Brady Power?
Bright Night Power.
Oh, Brady Power. Okay, very well. And where do you work out of? Where's your office?
I work remote in Colorado.
And what's your formal training? Do you have a degree?
I do have a degree,
And what's that?
construction management.
And regarding the engineering design, do you use the software to do a layout for the solar project, or how do you do engineering design for this project?
We do use software, but we primarily contract external engineers, but we also do have internal in-house engineers that support the design.
And tell me about the cabling issues with this project. What decisions have to be made regarding cabling?
Can you repeat the question?
Well, so it says here that you're to provide testimony about cabling of this
Yeah.
project, and I wondered, is this underground cabling? Is this interfacing with the substation? Tell me about the cabling aspect of this project.
Primarily, the cable will be underground. We ensure that it's to a depth that is provided or dictated by the code. That's about 36 inches. We have not decided on what type of, or if cabling will be above ground, but we're primarily shooting for it to be below ground.
And is this to transmit AC power or DC power or power from the inverters to the substation, or
Yeah.
what kind of cabling are we talking about?
Yeah, DC power connects the panels to the inverter. The inverter changes it to AC, and that connects it to the substation.
Right, and were there any issues regarding your internal roadways?
No, sir.
Just straight gravel roads or dirt roads, or?
The prelim geotech does offer some guidance at this time, so we've taken a look at that, so maybe thicker roadways, subgrade prep to ensure those roadways stay intact. However, we will conduct further geotechnical testing under the EPC.
All right, very well, that's all, thank you.
Commissioner Mayfield?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Hammond?
Questions? Thank you.
And I don't have questions either. Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Any reason this witness can't be excused?
No.
You're excused, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
You may call your next witness, Mr. Fenn.
Next witness is Matthew Batdorf.
Good morning, Mr. Batdorf. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please be seated. Tell us your full name and business address, if you will.
My name is Matthew Batdorf. My address is 4101 Cox Road, Suite 100, Richmond, or Glen Allen, Virginia.
Okay, counsel.
Thank you. Who do you work for?
Tetra Tech.
And what is your position there?
I'm the Planning and Natural Resources Manager.
And what was your role in the application and preparation of the application materials?
I oversaw the completion of the acoustics report, the traffic assessment, and visual models.
Is there anything in the record that you'd like to update, clarify, or modify at this time?
Yes. In the initial acoustics report, Table 1, Analysis 3 had a route height. It was listed as 14 feet, when in reality it is 3.5.
And was that indicated on other places around the table?
Yes, so the footnote within that table indicates that it actually is 3.5, and there's bullet points above the table as well that mention 3.5.
And so the number in the table is just wrong, but the report itself utilized the correct information?
Correct.
So it's just a clerical mistake in the table?
Correct.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
I'll turn to the witness.
I'll ask a question real quickly. Is the question you were just asked, is that does that respond to the concern from our public commenter this morning, or is that a totally separate issue?
Totally separate,
Okay.
yeah.
Counsel.
Are you able to provide that in a post-hearing data request, or just provide the updated table that he just
Sure.
filed as a supplemental? Thank you. I'm looking at the consultant's report on page 5, section 5, page 24, and he states that receptor 63 is 322 feet from the panel, and receptor 56 will be 360 feet from a panel with a noise level of 84 decibels. Can you talk a little bit about the mitigation measures that are going to be used, particularly for those homes that do not have a good neighbor agreement but are close to the proposed facility?
Sure. So mitigation measures for any houses that are within 1,500 feet of pile driving. The project will use things such as sound blankets, making sure that the equipment is in good working order, and staggering the equipment away from the residences as much as can be possible.
And so when will a determination be made as what, I know we sort of gave a general mitigation measure, but which specific mitigation measure will be used? Is that made by the EPC closer to construction, or when is that determination made?
Yeah, that's a response I'll have to defer to either Ms. Kitchen or the EPC will likely be the one to
Okay.
manage that.
And so there are several homes that signed good neighbor agreements, but there are additional homes that did not. Would you be able to provide the distances, like to the closest fencing, the panels, to the inverters for those homes who did not sign a good neighbor agreement?
That's not something that we've analyzed yet, to my knowledge, but I'll defer to Ms. Kitchen on that.
Okay. And what we might just probably request that in the post-hearing data response, just to provide those distances. When we're looking at the noise, one of the tables in the noise study, it gives 84 decibels. And so can you give a comparison to the siting board of the level of noise that would sound like?
84 decibel, yes, ma'am.
And that was, in the consultant's report, is Exhibit 5-4, and it provides the closest non-participating residential receptors. It has an estimated decibel levels of 84 and 82 and 81.
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Just to clarify, you're looking at the table with the estimated max sound level decibels, is that right? 5-24?
Panel construction sound levels at select non-participating residential receptors.
Okay.
And just to clarify, your question was, like, what is a comparable sound to that level? Okay. So that would be something similar to like your garbage disposal in your home?
And so do you know how long the pile driving, to drive each pile, what's the time period that those residents would hear that sound level?
I do not know the time it would take to drive a single pole.
Are you the best witness to ask a couple questions about the setbacks and the motion for deviation?
I can answer some questions on it, yes.
According to the motion for deviation, there are 6 residential neighborhoods that are within 2,000 feet of the project. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the closest neighborhood to a solar panel, and I just want to confirm this, is neighborhood 13, which is 516 feet from a solar panel. Is that correct?
That sounds correct, yes, ma'am.
And that is the 516 feet is the requested setback from a residential neighborhood that you're requesting?
Let me double check, but I believe, actually, let me just double check. Yeah, so the setback was 515 feet.
515. No further questions for this witness, Chair.
Okay, so then going to our participants who are remote, Deputy Secretary Hatton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions. Are there any thoughts or provisions for hours of operation during a normal weekday and hours of operation on weekends when people are more likely to be at home and certain times of year enjoying themselves outside?
Yes, the schedule proposed in the application mentioned a 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. operation through Monday through Saturday.
Okay. And obviously, I guess an obvious question is, those who are doing the construction work they'll have proper PPE because 84 decibels at close range is pretty moderately loud noise. I'm assuming that any contractors on site during the operations will be required to follow whatever the site health and safety plan will be, assuming there will be one.
Was it a question or a statement? I apologize.
That's sort of a question, I guess.
Okay.
Is there going to be a health and safety plan or OSHA compliance plan for the construction project?
That'll be determined by the project, but they'll be abiding by all state and federal regulations.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you, Deputy Secretary. Do you have any questions, Judge Perry?
I do not.
Okay, and Mr. Smith?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wood?
No questions.
Commissioner Mayfield? Mr. Ament?
I have no questions.
And I don't have questions either. Any reason this witness couldn't be excused?
No, Chair.
All right, thank you, excuse sir. And does anybody need a break, or should we, I'll take a request for a break if anybody needs one, otherwise we'll move on.
I think we're good to continue.
All right, let's call your next witness when you're ready.
Fletcher Mangum.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right. Please have a seat. Tell us your full name and business address, please.
My full name is Alan Fletcher Mangum. Business address is 4510 Cox Road, Suite 202, Glen Ellen, Virginia.
Okay. Counsel.
Mr. Mangum, who do you work for?
Mangum Economics.
And what is your role there?
I'm the founder and CEO.
And what application materials did you prepare for this matter?
I supervised the creation of the economic and fiscal impact assessment.
Is there anything in the record here that you'd like to modify, update, or clarify at this time?
No, there is none.
I'll turn to the witness.
Ms. Carr?
Could you describe to the siting board about the local impact that this project will have for Graves County? I saw where the consultant concluded that there will be a small impact, positive impact for the local county there, but can you describe and explain to the siting board the process you used to reach your determination?
Sure. Well, there are two impacts. One of them was the economic impact. The other is the fiscal impact, the tax revenue. In terms of the economic impact, the assessment that we performed, it was for construction and for operations. Are you asking about both, or?
Yes.
Your question is very broad.
Yes, it is.
In terms of the construction impact, we were provided information by Bright Knight on the construction, the revenue or the expenditures associated with construction. We then inputted those revenues or those expenditures into the in-plan model. The in-plan model is an economic impact simulation model that is the most commonly used economic impact simulation model in the United States. So those inputs into that model were done by industry category. So site prep would be different than other elements. General construction would be different than other elements. Panel installation would be different than other elements. And the in-plan model then takes that information and produces an economic impact assessment, which would be the jobs, the wages, and the overall economic output that would be associated with that project. On the operating side, the economic impact is done very much the same way in that we were given, well, it's a little bit different actually, in that direct impact, typically in an economic impact assessment, would be the revenue generated by the facility. So in this case, that would be the revenue that Bright Knight would receive from the sale of the electricity. That number is really relatively, is not particularly meaningful in this context, in that most of that money goes to, or most of that revenue goes to debt service. I mean, this is more than $250 million investment in the project. So what we look at there really is just that economic activity that would be local. And that would be the wage of and the data that we were provided, the one tech that would be associated with that, the operating phase of the project, along with the services that would be likely to be purchased locally. And that would be vegetative control, repair and maintenance of the fence, general repair and maintenance to the facility. So we then take that information, we run it through the in-plan model to provide an impact assessment, economic impact assessment, in terms of what that would mean to the county. The fiscal impact in construction, that estimate is provided through the in-plan model, and again, taken from the information that we provide or we input into that model based on the expenditure pattern that we were provided by Bright Knight. On the operating side, those revenue streams come from three major sources. The real property tax revenue at both the state and local level, that would be real property in terms of land and also in terms of improvements. The personal property and the machinery, the manufacturing machinery tax, which is only state. And the calculations for those are provided in the report. Did that answer your question?
Yes. And so how does this project compare as far as the economic benefit to Graves County? How is it comparable to other projects that you have reviewed in the past?
The findings were very comparable to other projects that we have reviewed in the past. We have performed economic impact assessments on the past. And at this point, we have done, I think, close to 50 gigawatts of projects across 40 states.
Would you expect to see a larger economic impact given the size of this project?
Relative to what?
Relative to the potential of the revenue, loss of income. How would you compare that?
Are you comparing it to the current use? Is that
To the current agricultural use, yes.
right? In the report, those are assessed. The models that are used to do that are different models. And the reason for that is that, again, direct output in a typical economic impact assessment is revenue. So in the current use, we looked at the fenced-in acreage, which is primarily currently in soybean and corn production. We took information from the census, the Department of Agriculture census for Graves County on revenue per acre for soybean and corn. for that acreage, and from that derive that impact assessment, that direct output number. Also from that, we derive the employment and wage numbers. In terms of the solar facility, a comparable number in terms of output would be, again, the sale of the electricity. But in both of those cases, both with agriculture, the sale of the agricultural products, and the sale of the electricity, one's in thousands of dollars, the other is in millions, most of those dollars don't land in the locality. In terms of the agricultural scenario, most of those dollars go to whoever produced the seeds and where those facilities were located, whoever produced the fertilizer, where that was located, whoever produced the tractor, and John Deere, I think, is in New Jersey, where that was located. So the money doesn't really land in Graves County. The same thing, again, is true with respect to the millions of dollars in terms of economic output from the solar facility. Most of that goes to debt service on this, more than $250 million project. So there's a difference in the way those two are calculated. And as a result, in our report, those analyses are not really directly comparable.
Further questions for this witness?
Okay. And Deputy Secretary Hatton.
Chair Hatton, I have no questions.
Okay. Judge Perry, do you have questions?
I do not.
Mr. Smith?
Questions?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand your response, Mr. Smith.
I'm sorry, no questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wood?
Mr. Mann, I just had a couple of questions. One is, and you may not know this yet, but do you know if this project is going to be subject to a request for industrial revenue bond statute?
That would be a question for Bright Night.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Mayfield?
No question.
And Mr. Hammack?
Mr. Mangum, I have a few questions for you. In the report, it states that your company has done analyses of projects across 30 states. I was curious, how many projects have you analyzed in Kentucky, if any?
I would not know that number offhand, but I believe it's probably under a dozen and more than 6 or 7.
Okay. Do any of the fiscal benefits that you project in your report rely on the assumption that construction labor will be hired locally?
In terms of the fiscal benefit?
Yes.
No, not really.
Okay. I'll give you some time here. I'm looking at page 20 under fiscal impact. I'll ask you this question. If you need to look at the report, I'll give you time to do that. I'm not sure if you'll need it, but the question is, could you explain for the record what the difference would be between the cost approach and then the income approach for property evaluation?
Well, the acreage would be reassessed at an industrial rate as opposed to the fairly subsidized agricultural rate that it's currently assessed at. And keep in mind that the acreage, the bulk of the acreage is currently owned or controlled by, and I'm fearful of mispronouncing this acronym, but PERIA. So it is not currently taxed. In terms of the reassessment of the property, the income approach is a Ricardian analysis that dates back to the 1800s, which is that if this is producing this much income, or the asset is producing this much income, what would it have to be the value of the asset to produce that much income? So in this case, the income in solar use would be the lease payments that would be provided to the owners. So that assessment is done in that way. We don't know how the Commissioner of Revenue will assess this property in the future. So that is our best guess of what that would be. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Since this is my first case that involves a good neighbor agreement, I was thinking along the idea that we lose farm income, but there is lease income for the participating landowners. Do you also get information about the good neighbor agreements and that potential impact on local?
No, again, that would be a question for Bright Night.
Okay. So that's not something you considered in your report that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
All right. Any reason this witness couldn't be excused?
No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excused. And Mr. Dutton, when you're ready, call your next witness.
Rich Kirkland?
Is that your final witness? Do you have one more?
It is, yes. I was going to recall Ms. Kitchen. I think
Okay.
there was one that was deferred to her.
Mr. Kirkland, would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thanks. Please have a seat and tell us your full name
Richard Kirkland,
and business address, please.
9408 Northfield Court, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Mr. Dutton?
Mr. Kirkland, who do you work for?
Kirkland Appraisals,
And what's your role there?
the owner.
And what was your role in preparing materials for this application?
I completed the property impact analysis.
Is there anything in that report or elsewhere in the record that you would like to update, clarify, or modify at this time?
No.
In terms of the commenter who asked previously, is it your understanding that he was asking about something in the Crab Run case? Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. And that, this is a different developer than that case, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the materials that he was asking about in the Crab Run case, is it, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but let me know if this is correct. My understanding is that what he was referring to was a preliminary draft of a template that you had prepared and was accidentally left in the record in the Crab Run case. Is that correct?
That is correct, and I identified it as such in the Crab Run hearing. I identified that was left in inadvertently as part of the original template.
Okay. I'll turn to the witness after that. Thank you.
I'll follow up on that one just briefly. So, did you understand what the public commenter was referring to?
The battery energy storage system analysis that was at the back of that report.
And does that have anything to do with this case?
Again, we did not have that as part of this report.
Okay.
We were working on templates for Kentucky to include battery energy storage systems. We do that in other jurisdictions. So again, it's just going to be better for us if we have an actual case to put in there. So we put that in there and we used this as that template, but it was not part of this assignment.
Okay. And so it seemed like maybe the public commenter thought that something that belonged in that case or belonged in this case was filed in the wrong case. Is that what happened?
Again, it was just the template. It was not really from this file. It was again, the template is, for my purposes, when I'm creating the template, it helps me to use real-world examples so I can make sure that the data actually applies as opposed to putting in blanks. And so I use real-world examples.
So did it have anything to do with misidentifying where the battery unit went, or was it just simply misfiling?
Again, it was, like I said, it was a new template for Kentucky. I'm not accustomed when I was working on that report for the Crab Run. Again, I'm not used to having a battery energy storage system at the tail end. I didn't scroll down far enough to see that I needed to delete that section. So it was just inadvertently left in from the template.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. Counsel.
Did you speak with the property value administrator in Graves County to complete your report?
Not as part of this assignment. I have reached out to assessors. Let me find the right page. I'm not sure if Graves County replied to our request to assessors, but whoever I did, whenever I did do that, it would be listed in here. Again, we reached out to every assessor in Kentucky. I did not get a response from Graves County, so I do not have any information from them.
What assessors, what counties did you reach out to?
Again, we didn't reach out specifically for this assignment. We had done this, I think this survey of assessors across Kentucky, maybe in 2024, 2023. And we have a list on page 36 of the 10 responses that we did get and the assessor that we communicated with.
Okay. So, but for this particular project, you did not reach out?
We did not reach out to the assessor as part of doing this analysis, no.
What was the last sale of a home that was adjoining or abutting a solar facility that you analyzed?
In specific to Kentucky, 2024.
Do you know if in the last year there has been any recent home sales that are abutting or adjoining a proposed facility?
a proposed facility, again, no, I do not know. Again, I did not look for that.
Okay, so in the last year, had there been any sales that you analyzed for facilities that are actually built and operational?
Again, we did the initial analysis for this report in June of 2025, so we did have data up through the projects that are identified here, looked at through that time period, but since that period, I don't know. I have not done any additional research.
In your sale resale analysis, you looked at Turkey Creek, Mount Olive Creek, and Russellville Solar. Were those the only projects that you looked at in Kentucky?
No.
Operational?
Again, all the ones we looked at are listed starting on page 38. Really starting at page 39, I guess. We look at all of these to look and see what we find around them for sales. And then starting on page 59, you can see where we start listing where we have actually found sales data. So we looked around all of the solar projects that we showed earlier in the report, but we only do analysis where we've actually find sales, and those are listed starting on page 59.
And so, do you feel comfortable in the report that you submitted that it contains the most recent and accurate home sales for facilities that are actually operational?
Again, based on the projects that we looked at, there may be additional solar projects out there that could have been looked at, but were not. They were not excluded for any reason other than these are the projects that we were looking at. Again, we understand that there's been new facilities built. We'd love to go out and look at those, but again, we did this research back in 2025, and there's probably been some activity since then.
And so, given the number of reports that you do, and we know that there have been additional facilities, how come additional reports or sales were not looked at?
Well, there's just a delay between when I do the analysis and when these hearings happen. And again, I have set out bids right now to hopefully update all this analysis. So my intent is next time I do a report for Kentucky is to look at every operational facility and look for sales. But again, I have not had an assignment to that effect as of yet.
One of the comments that was made by the resident talked a little bit about there were no comparable sales in regard to a battery energy storage system in your report. What would your statement or response be to that comment?
Well, we have research on that topic, but it was just not part of the scope of this assignment.
He also talked a little bit about a negative 6.4% in regards to error in regards to a match pair analysis. Could you talk a little bit about that, or do you recall that comment?
I did, and I made a note to myself. I'm going to research that and see. He was talking about the Mount Olive resale analysis. I'll check. I don't know if what he said is true, but even if it was true, I looked to see what it would do to our resale chart if we change that from a minus 5% impact to a minus 6% impact. Let me find that page. So I'm looking at page 129. If what he said is true, and that should wind up being a minus 6% instead of a minus 5% on this chart, it would shift the average impact. It likely wouldn't shift it at all, because when you divide that 1% by the 16 sales, the average impact would be a 0.06% shift in the average. The median would not change at all. So it would still likely give me the exact same conclusion box at the end. If it is possible that it would change the rounding point for the average, which would drop that down to a plus 2% impact overall for the average, and the median would remain the same regardless at plus 2%.
There was also a comment made regarding the Virginia Tech study. And could you explain to the citing board why you did not use a Virginia Tech study in your analysis?
Well, the Virginia Tech study is in the report. We don't rely on any of the national studies as part of our conclusion. This is supplemental data. Our conclusion is based on the research we did, the sale, resale, the matched pairs data. We consider the broker data survey to be supplemental and supportive. We consider the assessor survey to be supplemental and supportive. And similar to the other appraisal studies we mentioned, is really just context, and the university studies is really just for context. To some extent, it's supportive. But when you look at all the university and national studies we look at, the average impacts range from -2.5% to +2.5%, which clusters really similar to most of the data. The Virginia Tech study in particular is, it's a problematic study. I know I've spoken about that here before, but it shows a +19% impact on all agricultural uses within a 3-mile radius around solar projects. I mean, that's one of the conclusions of that study. It also says there's a -4.8% impact for a 3-mile radius. Both of those figures are outside any of the other national studies. So it has the highest positive impact and also has the highest negative impact, all in one study. It concludes specifically that they found examples that showed no impact directly across the street from solar, where it had a clear view of solar, which is why they concluded the trigger is not visibility or appearance, but stigma, which is why they can say they find data across the street that can see solar, showing no impact. But they did find an impact 3 miles away, which, again, none of the other national studies concludes on stigma. Visibility of viewshed is the primary concern in most of the studies identified. It's just an outlier for many reasons. I would point to a more recent study that was published in the Appraisal Journal. It was done with some PhDs and some MAIs that looked specifically at solar projects, and they found no appreciable impact at all. They found actually some evidence of positives. And they also interviewed the brokers involved in that so that they actually had on-the-ground research to find out what the buyers were thinking when they bought those.
And so is it your opinion that the better the vegetative screening is, the less likely it would have on the property value impact of the home?
Yeah, we totally, while we do have data that shows areas with no impact, even when there's no landscaping screen whatsoever, we do not advocate for that. We believe that landscaping screening is a necessary part of the analysis because most of the examples we have do have landscaping screens. And in fact, where we have very substantial wooded areas, we can see positive impacts in some areas.
No further questions, Chair.
Okay, and for Deputy Secretary Hatton?
Chair Hatton, I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Judge Perry, do you have any questions for this witness?
I do not.
All right. And Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. And then that leaves us to Commissioner Wood.
No questions.
And Commissioner Mayfield?
No questions.
Mr. Hammond?
I have no questions.
Okay. And just briefly, you and I have talked about the stigma associated with solar facilities in different areas in other cases, but just for the record in this case, do you lend any credence to the idea that was again presented by the public commenter this morning that more conservative areas politically would have a higher stigma and that we should take that into account in Graves County?
Again, it's not something that we research or look at specifically as far as politics go. That's not really something that appraisers really are supposed to be looking at. And again, political affiliation, we haven't really seen. We work in a lot of different states. We work in red states, we work in blue states, we work in purple states. And we haven't seen any real difference in sales data as far as these impacts go, whether we're looking in, I'm not sure if I'm even supposed to reference what is a red state or a blue state, but we've worked in 28 different states. We have looked at data in these, and we are not seeing any significant difference regardless of where we're at. And most of the jurisdictions, when you think about it, even in a blue state, the rural areas typically are more red. So again, most of the data is in areas that is essentially red areas.
In the 28 states that your company has worked in, you don't see an appreciable difference based on how they vote?
Well, we've never looked at how they voted. All I can talk about is in general, we've looked at things in different states, and some states are more red than others.
Gotcha.
That's all I can really say about that, and that most of these projects are in rural areas, which do tend to be more red. But so I think most of the data does support what I've been saying regardless, but that's not a way that we look at this. We don't really slice and dice how people are voting.
And as far as what you're basing your opinions on, it's hyper-local information, comparative sales and things like that.
Well, we try to just very simple, my favorite analysis is sale resale. This is a house that sold before the solar project was even announced or even on the radar. Compare a sale of that exact same house after the solar farm was built. Did it appreciate at comparable rates to that overall MSA or zip code? So again, that's exactly what anyone who lives next to it should be concerned about is, will my home do it? Not what some, a ring study does from Virginia Tech or something like that. Again, the ring studies from Virginia Tech look at a large volume of data, but that large volume of data comes from Zillow, which already has a minimum of 15% error in it. If you look at Zillow, literally 15, and I ask this with other researchers all the time, about 15% of the data in there is either wrong, inaccurate, either in terms of that home never sold, but it listed as being sold. And if you go to the county GIS, you can look up the record. It also includes data where it drops the pin where something's located, but sometimes it's off by as much as 50 miles. So the Zillow data is not perfect. It is a usable tool, and it gives you a lot of data, but how good that data is also in question.
And did the Virginia Tech look at Zillow data?
I don't know that for a fact, but most of these ring studies, in fact, use those.
Okay. Anything further from any of the siting board members? No? Okay, any redirect?
No, ma'am.
All right, any reason this witness can't be excused?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you.
Excused. And would you like to recall a witness?
Yes, I would. I'd like to recall Jackie Kitchen.
Ms. Kitchen, thanks for sticking around. Remind you, you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
And counsel, you may ask.
Ms. Kitchen, there was a question earlier. Now I'm trying to find it. Do you recall the question that was asked earlier that was deferred to you?
I do.
Okay, can you restate that question as you understand it?
Yes, I believe it was a question from Ms. Carr regarding the decision regarding landscaping around Highway 45.
1241, east side of US 45.
Yes, ma'am. After you asked that question, I consulted the map that showed the potential view shed of the 52 residences prepared by Tetra Tech. And about half of those residences are on the west side of Highway 45. So their view is obscured by a 4-lane US highway. And the closest of those residences appears to be more than 1,000 feet from any project infrastructure. The other half of those residences are located on the east side of Highway 45. And from my quick review of our table and analysis in our reports, it appears that the majority of those that are on the east side of Highway 45 are more than 400 feet or have been included in our Good Neighbor Agreement program.
Anything further from you, Mr. Denton?
No, ma'am.
Anything further, Ms. Carr, for this witness?
No.
Mr. Hatton, did you have anything further for this witness?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And for Judge Perry and Mr. Smith, this is the witness that, because of technical issues this morning, you weren't able to listen to, but she is the lead witness, as I understand it, for the applicant. And if you have any questions for her, now would be a really good time for you to be able to ask those.
I do not have any.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Smith?
I don't have any either, thank you.
Okay, and if either of you wants to review the hearing video and get questions specifically to us to ask later, we could have staff do that for you. And wanted to make sure you get that opportunity since there were issues this morning. Anything further, Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the industrial revenue bond and ask if the company was considering or planning on invoking that statute regarding tax payments or payments in lieu of taxes.
Sure. We haven't made a decision at this time or approached Graves County about it, but we're certainly open to doing so.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't do that?
I don't see a reason. Again, we're open to discussing with Graves County, and it depends on their comfort level with entering into such an agreement.
Yeah, it's a pretty intimidating name of a statute, but it belies, in my opinion, belies its simplicity. But I do think when you talk about economic impacts regarding a project like this, I don't see how you can not discuss the IRB. I mean, in the solar projects that I've seen, it's the elephant in the living room for local economic impact.
I would agree with that. In my past career, I was a local government official and agree that there's a lot of value in providing stability and revenues to local government through the IRB program.
Very well, thank you.
Anything, Commissioner Mayfield?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I hope this is the proper witness, and I'll be told if it isn't. I wondered if you've given any thought, once the project's completed, up and running, to occasionally opening it up for educational purposes for school groups or other interested parties.
So at Bright Night, we have explored that with some of our other sites. There is a lot of interest in local educators and showing kids and students how these types of facilities work. So we would consult with our O&M staff to make sure that we could do so safely and in adherence to all of the appropriate federal and state regulations. But we are definitely open to exploring that possibility.
Thank you.
Yes?
Okay, Mr. Hammond?
No questions.
Any redirect?
No, ma'am.
All right, now any reason this witness can't be excused?
No.
All right, thanks, Ms. King.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, ma'am. That's our final witness.
All right. Any motions at this time? I don't think there were any exhibits that needed to be entered.
Not that I recall.
All right. When is a final order due in this case?
It is due
July 27th?
July.
Okay. If you have follow-up requests, can you get those out by June 15th?
Yes.
It's Monday. And if she gets those to you by June 15th, Mr. Dutton, do you think you could have them answered by June 22nd?
Yeah, that should be doable. I only heard a couple today, so as long as there's not significantly more than what I heard today, that should be fine.
If you have trouble getting them by the 22nd, please answer all that you can and give us an idea of how much time you would need to get them answered if you can't do it by June.
Certainly, Chair, will do that.
All right. If you would like to do a post-hearing brief, I would ask that you try to get that in by June 17th. And if you can't get it in by June 17th, let us know as soon as possible that you'd like to do one, and we'll try to accommodate,
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
so that we can get a order out by the time we're required to do on July 27th. All right, we didn't do any confidential sessions. Is there anything further before we adjourn?
No, I don't believe so.
Anything further? All right. Thank you very much, Deputy Secretary Hatton and Judge Perry and Mr. Smith. I want to encourage you to call Mr. Smith or Mr. Perry, the PSC's regular number, and ask for me, Angie Hatton, if you have any questions about the procedure or anything further about trying to get some questions in, just to make sure you get to fully participate. Thank you for your participation, and if there isn't anything further, then we are adjourned.